Hi, this is Dan here. I hope you're doing really well today. In this bass lesson, I'm going to show you that the more you know about how music works, the more creative you can become. Now, this lesson is based on a new course I have called Music Theory for Bass Players, and everything in this course comes from it. That first thing I played, just in the intro, it's two sections. It's 8 bars of E minor 7, and then it goes E minor 7, F sharp minor 7, B minor 7. Now, one thing theory can tell you is what notes to play in that situation. The first 8 bars is just an E minor 7 chord, just going on and on and on. That's a really common situation in music, and we use a mode in that situation, E Dorian. Think of a mode as a subset of a scale. D major in this case. The second mode of D major gives you E Dorian. Now that is a bunch of notes, that's a mode that works brilliantly over that. But then in the next 8 bars we have E minor 7, F sharp minor 7, B minor 7. We have changed, we are no longer using E Dorian. This is one central point of theory. It's just learning how to harmonize a scale. Here's B minor. Now, in that key of B minor, the 1 chord, that's the chord built from the first degree of the scale, the 4 chord and the 5 chord, they're all minor 7. That's all the chords I just mentioned. So when we switch to that moment in this backing track, we have to switch to that tonality too. Let me demo that. There at the end, I was just very deliberately playing the mode or the scale over the chords. And did you see how that fit? Now, if you know how to harmonize scales and you know what modes come from different keys, then you can really play so much on bass. Now, in that course, I teach you all of this stuff, but I also teach you a few other things as well, because music theory on its own isn't going to make you a good musician. You have to use good timing, and rhythm is to do with music theory as well. We'll get onto that later. But it's also how you place the notes, how you play, the feel, the tone you're using. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's very important nonetheless. Another aspect of music theory, very important to us bass players, is rhythm. So I have a 16th note swing drum beat in the background, and I'm going to improvise over it. So let's just take these as beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Straight 16ths go like this. You may well be used to those ones. Swing 16ths. Now that's used a lot in dance music, a lot in hip hop, and it's like this. It's a slight difference to the straight 16ths. I'll show you how that goes. Now, I absolutely love that. If you study rhythms, then you learn all the common bass rhythms. 8th notes, straight, swung 8th notes, which are used in jazz and blues. And then you encounter rhythms like this that I absolutely love playing that. You know. I'm just making something up here, by the way, using something else that I cover in the course really in depth, and that's scales. Here I was just using an E major pentatonic scale. I find you can get really, really creative combining just a very simple scale to a groove, to a different feel, to a different rhythm. Loads of backing tracks in this course, that's one of them from it. Now, another thing I found that music theory did for me was just massively improve my confidence. I've been playing bass since the age of 11, and I remember, I was probably about 16 years old. I was in this jazz band at school. All the other guys in the band were much better than me. And we were playing So What, which is just a bit like I was playing earlier. It's a static minor 7 chord for 16 bars, D minor 7, then it goes to E flat minor 7. Now, probably my fault. I probably just wasn't listening to the great teachers I had at the time. But I did know this. I knew a D minor scale. And over that D minor 7 chord, I was just walking using that. Now, that was absolutely no problem until I hit this note. That 6th note there was wrong, and my ear just wasn't good enough at that time to realise what was going on. And what it was that I needed to know a Dorian mode, that same mode I mentioned before, which is exactly the same as that scale I just played, with the difference being the 6th note, not a minor 6, but a major 6. That's what you need. As soon as I understood a Dorian mode and that, Miles Davis was one of the pioneers of modal music, I then found how that fit into, in this case, static minor 7 chords. It changed everything. And then I started to learn about modes and chord progressions and arpeggios, extended arpeggios. And those things that terrified me before, I started to understand, very importantly, how you use those things. Not just something that you need to learn for an exam. That was another part of music theory that I hated. It was, how can I use this in music to actually improve my bass playing? As soon as I did that, I just became more confident. I could jam better. I could improvise. My ear got more mature just really quickly. That was all down to music theory. New styles of music open up to you. Here is something called a Phrygian dominant mode. It's a mode of a harmonic minor scale. Here it is in E Phrygian dominant. Now, listening to music, as I really urge you to do, all different types of music. You can listen to music and you can analyze it and say, well, look, I'm hearing that mode a lot, and this one happens a lot in flamenco music. Now, that mode, to me, that's the flavour of flamenco. And it just opens up new styles and new different ways of playing. And I love doing things like that, even if probably I'm not going to be playing like that in most of the music I play. It's good to have that in your locker. It's good to create. It's good to maybe compose. Actually, that mode as well, if you play an open E string. It sounds very metal, and indeed it's used a lot in that style of music as well. In my experience of learning music theory, I felt that it opened up this creative superpower in me. I'll show you this now. This is a demo of a chord progression allied to scales again. So every chord has a relationship to a scale. A scale gives you a chord, they work together. So here I've got a chord progression that's based around the Lydian mode. This is probably my favourite mode of all time, actually. It's the 4th mode of the major scale. I just love the sound of it. I love it. Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, artists like that, they love it too, and film composers. So I'll play this through now. I'm going to do a combination of a bass line and a little bit of a solo as well. And my knowledge of this Lydian mode and the fact that I know that that works over major 7th chords means I can get creative with this. So you have C major 7 going to E flat major 7. That's major 7th chords a minor third apart. They're not part of the same key. So when composers decide to do things like that, you've got choices here, but you can get a mode or a scale that fits over it and use that. And that's what I was doing there. C major 7, C Lydian. Upper minor third to E flat major 7. In the course I go on about arpeggios a lot because we tend not to play chords on bass, although there's a massive section on that too, but we do play arpeggios like this. So there's an arpeggio, and there's a set of notes, a mode that fits with that. That is such huge information for you because you can use that in bass lines and solos. I talk a lot about not using all the notes. Be restrained, use some root notes, fifths, octaves, you can never go wrong. Then it goes down a semitone to D. D Lydian and D major 7th, and then up a minor third again. And now we have F major 7 and F Lydian. If all that sounds like alien language to you, well, in the course you will learn all about that. But it isn't that bad, it's just one mode being moved into different places, and certain styles of music do that way more than others, and when you listen to music you'll catch that and you can go where you like with this. One of the most useful things you can do full stop with music theory is to learn a bass line and to analyze it, and then you can use that to your advantage. Now earlier on when I was playing that swing drum beat, I was using this. I was doing an E major pentatonic, and more specifically than that, I was using these notes. Anyone recognize that bass line? That's one of my favorite bass lines from one of my favorite bass players. That's the intro to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, played by James Jamerson. And the bass line goes like this. That's the intro before the vocals come in. So what you would do is you would put that on and you would listen to it and you would pause after the first note and piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle. And then you would work out what's happening, what is going on with this. And what is going on is that you're using, there's a root, there's a 5, there's a major 6. These are intervals. And they all have a certain sound on a bass, a certain pattern. And once you link the pattern to the sound, you can hear that and you'll know instantly what it is, but you'll also know that, so the intro chord is E in this, you'll know that over a major chord you can use this. And that's something that you learn forever. You will use that now. So, one other thing Jamerson did, that C natural is not in the scale, it's a chromatic note. Chromaticism adds colour. So going back to that swing thing I was doing. I'm just using James Jamerson ideas applied to a slightly different tempo and feel. And that really, I think, is the number one way to improve yourself as a bass player. It requires decent ears and it requires a knowledge of theory. We do loads of this in the course. There are many, many other benefits. I'll leave you with one more, and that's just being able to create music just like this really easily. So I'll just do a couple of things now. I do have a backing track here, but just before I do that, let's do some sort of funk thing. I'll go G minor. So I've got G minor pentatonic, which is a brilliant scale on bass. If I add a flat 5 to that, I get the blues scale, G blues. I could even use that Dorian mode with those other two scales, and I now have a collection of notes that I know is going to sound absolutely killer if I want to make up a funk bass line. Maybe I've got a jam session as well. I want to do that. So, I don't have a drum beat. I'll just go back this fast. That. I'm using 16th note triplets. Again, studying rhythms, you can learn what sounds good. Now, look, music theory doesn't teach you how to play fast like that. I'm not even going to pretend that it does. But you can use these ideas for exercises, for practice. And once you get these things together, it will all start to come together. I'll leave you with this backing track. I've got a 251 here with a very theory thing going on here. We've got a tritone substitution. So a regular 251 would go something like this. D minor 7, G dominant 7, C major 7. That's a very standard major 251 in the key of C. What you can do when you substitute the tritone in is you go like this. So here's the chord G7. You substitute a dominant chord for 3 tones, or a tritone, away from that. That gives you this. It gives you a chromatic movement in the bass. Instead of I'll play it with a backing track, you'll hear it in context. Every single backing track in this lesson is from that course. There are 74 video lessons, I believe, 169 page PDF. I'll put the contents up of it right now. Pause the video to have a look, or follow the link below for more details on the course. It's a year in the making. I'm 30 years of playing in the making, really. It's everything I know about theory. I'm almost guarantee that you are going to learn so many things, not just one thing. You'll learn loads. If you have any questions about the course or anything I went through in this lesson, leave a comment below or get in touch with me. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you on the next lesson.